everyone, what's up? I'm Crystal from Vanhalla Adventures. Today I'm going to be sharing with you a recipe for herbal coffee. Surprisingly enough, it is one of the biggest questions we get here on our channel, as you've probably seen it if you've watched our channel before in a lot of our vlogs. So I'm going to be sharing it with you today. It's a very easy recipe using herbs, and it is 100% non-caffeinated alternative to regular coffee. So if that's something you're into, I think you'll enjoy this recipe. Let's get into the van and make it. For those of you that are new around here, welcome to our tiny home on wheels kitchen. And like I said, we're making the herbal coffee, which is 100% herb based. So there is no coffee in this recipe, which means it is caffeine free. And like most alternatives, it's not going to taste exactly the same. I just want to be transparent with you about that, but it is reminiscent of that roasted dark flavor that you get, and just the ritual, I think, of drinking coffee is something that I missed was when I was on my health journey. I just really liked having that cup and being able to have lattes and yeah, just that ritual in the morning. So this is a great alternative for those that are looking for something a little bit healthier, especially if you're kind of dealing with some gut issues or caffeine and you find that the caffeine in coffee exasperates those issues. So all of these herbs you can generally get at a health food store, and you'll want to get them in bulk. If you can't find them at a health food store, you can find them online. I'll put a couple of my favorite places to purchase herbs down in the description below, and also check your local apothecary. This is a great place to also get personal information if you have any questions about the herbs used. There's generally an herbalist that works at an apothecary, so that's also a great place to go. So the first herb we're going to start with is chicory root. So chicory root has been used for years as a coffee alternative. So if you find that coffee can create kind of that shakiness, that jitteriness, and you tend to have a crash, chicory root is going to be a really great bet for you. So first we're going to mix this all in a bowl. You can mix it however you want, but we're going to put in the chicory root here in the bowl first. Just kind of smell. It smells delicious. If you can find roasted chicory root, that's what you want to use. That smells great. And it also kind of looks like coffee grounds too. So you can kind of see it'll be reminiscent of your usual coffee. So we're going to do that first, put that in, and I'm going to leave the exact recipe down below, also with instructions. So if you're one of those people who prefers a visual and something you can copy and paste and keep in your notes, it's down there for you. So next up is roasted dandelion root. This is one of my favorite herbs. I specifically get the roasted dandelion root rather than just regular dandelion root because it tends to have that deeper, darker flavor that we're looking for in this particular recipe. And it smells delicious too. One of the reasons I love dandelion root is for its affinity for the liver. So it helps support your liver function, and your liver is one of your most important detoxification pathways. I tend to use dandelion a lot in recipes for people that are looking to balance their hormones, they're maybe having acne or other skin concerns. So dandelion is just great for those sorts of concerns. Next up, we're going to be doing a bit of burdock root, another liver supporting herb as well. Burdock also is going to have that deep flavor. I love burdock. When I was dealing with a lot of acne and skin issues, I started drinking burdock root tea, and it was a game changer for me. So another herb that I love is dandelion. So we're going to put this in here as well. If you notice, we're using a lot of roots, right? They're very earthy, very grounding. I love making a decoction with herbs, which is what we're going to be doing. I'll explain exactly what that is here in just a couple minutes. Now, next, I'm going to put in a bit of licorice root. This is an option. You don't have to do this by any means, but licorice root has a naturally sweet flavor. So I like this herbal coffee blend to have just that little bit of sweetness to it. Do not use licorice root if you have been told you have hypertension or you have high blood pressure. This will not be the herb for you. If you deal with a lot of fatigue, this is when I notice I use licorice root a lot. If somebody comes to me with adrenal fatigue, I've used this a lot in my practice. It was something that I dealt with for years, and it really has an affinity for the adrenals, which is really the seat of your hormonal health. So licorice root, one of my favorites to really be supportive in energy levels. But do be mindful if that is the right herb for you. Now next up, we're also going to add in a little bit of cinnamon. Now you could use powdered cinnamon if you want, but I just have some dried cinnamon bark right here, and we're just going to add a little bit of this. So I'm not going to actually measure it out. I will have it in the description how much I use, but I kind of just like eyeball it. But I use a decent amount. I really love cinnamon because it helps balance blood sugar, plus it's just delicious. It's cinnamon. It's awesome. So just kind of eyeballing that in there, and then, you know, you can always add more if you want to with a little bit of powder. Other options, what you can put in here, they were out of them at the health food store when I visited last week, is rhodiola. This is another delightful herb to use if you're looking to increase your stamina. A lot of athletes use rhodiola to help increase endurance and stamina. I noticed that on my health journey, it was tremendous support when I was dealing with fatigue, and I still use it in tincture form quite often if I'm noticing that I'm doing a lot of workouts and I'm really putting more of my energy into that space, into my fitness, or, you know, if you're going to go run a marathon, anything like that. So definitely look into rhodiola if that calls to you. And, you know, there's so many other herbs you could add into this recipe as well once you kind of figure out what is best for you. Another thing that I like to put in here is mushrooms, and I forgot, so I need to grab that out of my cabinet real quick. We're going to put some mushrooms in here. I'm kind of feeling that real need for it. My body's starting to crave medicinal mushrooms more and more, so we're going to also add some of that, but this really could be your recipe right here. You don't even need anything else besides chicory root if you don't want to, but I would generally always add chicory root and at least roasted dandelion, but kind of if you want to get that more deeper flavor, and you can add vanilla bean, you can add all sorts of things to this, but mushrooms are a great addition. So let's add that next. So just kind of scouring through my mini apothecary up here, I found some chaga and a little bit of reishi that's also mixed in. So you know what? I'm just going to add this full amount. You don't have to do that if you don't want to, or even add mushrooms, but I'm just going to go ahead and put it all in. Chaga specifically is more known to help support your immune system. It's also antiviral. Also has an affinity, a lot of people know it for its to help improve memory or cognitive function, so think brain health as well, but I think of it as more of a defense herb, or mushroom, excuse me. So now we're just going to mix this whole baby. Look at all that beautiful. There's so many great smells coming out right now. I wish you all were here to smell this. And I really love putting in fresh vanilla bean if I have it, but you can use vanilla just when you're adding it into your cup. Like, that's fine. You can just use some vanilla extract. That's fine too. I'm just going to go ahead and mix this all. So next we're going to go ahead and make a decoction with this blend. So you're going to need your stove set up. Mine is quite easy. I just have a little butane stove right here. Got my butane already in there. We're good to go. I have a little saucepan, so I'm going to put some water in here. And then once we fill it up with water, I'm going to put my herbs in. Then I'm going to bring it to a boil, and then we're going to put it back down to a simmer, cover it, and let it simmer for about 15 minutes or so. That's called a decoction. When you simmer herbs like roots, you don't necessarily really want to do this with more of those leafy herbs, as I would call them, things like nettle. You're going to do this more with roots. It'll help extract more of those properties and the health benefits out of them, so to speak. And so that's what we're going to do, but I will put a faster way down below on how you can make this without having to decoct it every single time. There's other ways you can do it. Like I said, I'll put those down below. But what I do is I just generally put this on in the morning, and then I go and do my makeup, and I come back, and I mean, I'm right across the way since I live in a tiny home. Yeah, it makes it pretty fast. It's really not that big of a deal, but I know sometimes time is a concern for a lot of people. So let's go ahead and prepare this. So we got our water here. Now I'm going to go ahead and put this delicious tea blend up in the water. So I'm going to do 2 tablespoons. You can really use as much as you like, but I use about a tablespoon to 2 tablespoons per cup of water, so I like mine a little bit strong. And then we're gonna go ahead and turn this on. And you wanna make sure to use cool water when starting this. It doesn't have to be freezing cold, but just like lukewarm, cool water. You don't want it to be hot starting from hot water. So just a little extra tip for that. And then we're going to go ahead and set this here. I'm going to turn that down a bit and wait for it to come to a boil. I'm just going to go ahead and cover that so it'll be a little bit faster. But while we're waiting for that to boil, I'm going to go ahead and show you where I'm at. It's really gorgeous where I've been parked for the past couple days, just really chill and mellow. So I'm going to go outside and show you that real quick. So for the past couple days, I've been out here in Arizona. I think I'm not that far from Phoenix right now. And I'm kind of right off the freeway. You can't hear it, I can't see it, but it's beautiful out here and there's no one really around. Usually a lot of people during this time period go to Quartzsite, but there was just so many people there. So if you look around, there's no one here. I hope you can see. It's really bright out though. There's Beatrice in the back looking all sexy per usual. But yeah, it's just beautiful and open here. Just chill. One of the things I love most about living in the van is just being able to wake up and immediately pretty much be outside. Arizona is such a great location for van life in the winter because there is so much sun here, even though I found like this little pocket of semi-shade, so I think you all can see me fairly well. One of the reasons Brian and I really wanted to do van life when we first started is because we wanted to live more in alignment with nature. We wanted to be able to wake up and be outside and almost have to be outside more because we live in such a small space that it can feel really cramped if you're inside all the time. So it almost like expands and like pushes you to be more in nature and to really understand how many resources that you're using per day. Like we know how much water we're using every day, even other processes of our everyday lives. Like we don't have very much room in the van, so everything that we purchase really has to be meaningful. And it's also made us look at what our values are for how we're using our dollars to vote for the kind of world we want to live in. Which brings me to our sponsor for today's vlog, and that is Ana Luisa Jewelry. I am stoked that they are sponsoring today's video because their brand ethos totally align with how Brian and I live. They are 100% carbon neutral company from their packaging all the way to their jewelry. So I'm wearing Ana Luisa jewelry. Look at how sexy these pieces are right now. I absolutely adore their pieces. They're elegant and they're so great for layering too. I love layering pieces and they all match so well together. And they're giving 10% off to everyone who uses our link, which is in the description down below. Pieces start at only $39, and I love that they have high quality pieces, but they still care about sustainability and all of their practices that they have. You know, when I purchase something, is it something I'm gonna have for a long time, or am I just gonna keep repurchasing, which ends up to be a lot of money. And also it's like, what am I doing to our earth? And so I think about that a lot. So if that sounds like you, definitely check out the link below. Like I said, you get 10% discount. I think you'll absolutely adore their pieces and their packaging. So you definitely check them out. But I think it's about time that we need to go and see if the herbal coffee is done. Okay, so it has been just about 15 minutes or so. Pretty good. It's been simmering. We're gonna turn this off. I'm gonna grab myself a little towel so I don't burn my hands. I'm gonna take off the top. It smells so good in here. This is one thing I love mornings, and it's kind of like when you make your coffee in the morning, you get the smells. Like I used to be a barista and I loved the smell of coffee, and that's one thing I miss. But once I started making this, I was like, oh, this is legit awesome. I don't have to like miss out on that part of it. So next we have to strain it and then we get to drink it. I'm going to show you a couple options on how to do this. So one, you can use whatever kind of sieve, any sort of, you could use cheesecloth, anything like that. I have these cool cups, I'll link them down below, that come with this container basically, and a top as well, just in case I did want to infuse anything on its own. You could also use one of these and just put it over your cup like so and pour it over. So there's one option. Or you can use something like this that just like lands in your cup as is. Pretty sweet, pretty easy to use. And so what I do is I just pour this over. Looks so good. And then I just take this baby out, put it back in here. And I have a beautiful, delicious coffee alternative that supports liver health, adrenal health, balanced blood sugar. So I'm not going to get all those shakes, those jitters, and especially if I had put rhodiola in it, if that's something you want to do. It's also going to help endurance, and it is naturally going to give you a little bit boost of energy. I've had a few clients that I have sent this to that have said they like really love this recipe, which is really awesome. So I want to give you a couple other tips if you're like, I love my coffee too much. I couldn't imagine anything without it. I totally get you. I used to drink coffee every day. I was totally addicted, but I was also struggling with my health. I was having crashes every single afternoon. I hated that. I was reliant on coffee. I was addicted. I was grumpy if I didn't have it, and that just wasn't a way that I wanted to personally live. But you know, if you love coffee, that's all good too. But one thing I have had people do is what they'll do is they'll start decreasing their coffee just by about like 1/4 of a cup a week. Right? We don't want to do it all at once or you become like a Krabby Patty, and nobody likes that. So you start decreasing your coffee about 1/4 of a cup a week, and then you can start making this and just putting it little by little, so it kind of also gets you used to that taste, because it is a different taste than coffee. And so then you'll decrease it the next week, 1/2 cup of coffee, 1/2 cup of this, and then you start decreasing and decreasing until you have just this, if that is your goal, is to get off coffee. Or you can like rotate back and forth. This is something you could drink daily. I'd always check in with yourself like anything else. It's always important to use your intuition and your intention and whatever you're putting in your body, I believe. So you know if you're leaning on something, you're dependent on something, or if it's really beneficial to you. Of course, always talk to your healthcare provider, somebody that you trust that is knowledgeable about herbs, to see if this is a good decision for you. Everybody's going to be different in everything that they choose to put in their body. So another thing that you can do with this is you can make this into a bit of a latte. That's what I like to do for Brian and I frequently. So if I'm going to do that, what I'll do is just do about, I don't know, 1/2 to 3/4 a cup of this. And then I'll go ahead and put some milk in here after I've taken all of the herbs out and all of the herbal coffee. I'll put some, I like a hazelnut milk. Oh, so good. And I'll heat that up and I'll put a little vanilla extract in it and maybe a little extra cinnamon, maybe some stevia or honey or maple syrup if you want to sweeten it, and then just whisk it around just so it's warm. Pour that in there and you kind of have a little bit of an herbal coffee latte. It's absolutely delicious. So that's another thing you can do with it. Also, I want to mention is that you can use this several times. So what I'm going to go ahead and do is put this in a container and save that, and then I'll use it tomorrow. So generally I use it about 3 times. It won't be as strong, so just know it'll kind of taste a little bit watered down, but you're still going to get the benefits of it. So I like to reuse it often because, you know, I just like to get them as much out of it as possible and just to be more sustainable as well. So this is delicious. I'm super stoked. It's really hot though, since it just came off the burner. So I'm going to wait to have that. And then for storage of your herbs, you can put this in a Tupperware, whatever you want. I like to put it in a glass container, and then I store it in my mini Apothecary up above, which I'm going to show you in just a second, because we'd also had a bunch of questions about what exactly is up here, because we have so many herbs and tinctures and deliciousness. So I'm going to show you that in just a second. But first, I'm going to go ahead and pour this in here. This is some of my leftover herbal coffee last time. This one has like rhodiola and some other stuff. Every time I kind of make it just a little bit differently. But I'm going to go ahead and pour this, and then we're going to put it up into the cabinet. Thanks for joining me today to make our herbal coffee. I'm actually going to drink some real quick. It's perfect every time. It's so good. I think I'm just going to go for a little walk and enjoy my herbal coffee. If you have any questions about this, the recipe, anything else, what we have in our apothecary, because I wasn't quite sure exactly what you all wanted to know, just put a comment below and I'd be happy to answer that for you. Thanks all for watching the video, and be sure to check out Ana Luisa Jewelry. They're just such a rad company and beautiful jewelry, and you'll get 10% off with our link, so be sure to check that out below. And they ship anywhere in the world, which is awesome if you're a nomad like me. Works out well. Catch you all next week. Bye everyone.